Hey everyone, before this video begins, I just want to let you guys know that today, June 19th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time or 6 p.m. Central European Standard Time, Parabellum, the EU4 competitive live show that me, Laith, and Midge have been working on, is finally live over on the Parabellum YouTube and Twitch channels, link in the description. Please go watch it. Your support will mean the world. It's awesome. We got the qualifiers today. Lady Saffron, the student, Kara, the playmaker, who will face off versus Habibi, Zlewick, Corbett, and Flory in the finals next week. Don't worry if you miss it today, the VODs will still be up, and videos of every separate match will be up on those channels as well, so definitely make sure to check them out at the link in the description. Thank you so much. Parabellum. This is Milan in 1518. We're the number 3 great power in the world with almost 600 development, even though we own so little land. We have the super awesome Tier 1 Ambrosian Republic government reform, which you get via disaster. We're running a level 3, 2, and 2 advisors, and we can run them even higher. We're just focusing on money right now. We're making almost 50 ducats a month with no inflation and no loans, a massive portion of it coming in from trade. Quality and trade ideas are already on lock, buffing our economy and our armies and navies, both super important. We've completed a huge portion of the super awesome Milan mission tree, which among other things has given us 6 level 4 forts 5 techs ahead of time. Those forts are Miltech 14, right now we're at 9. We have 2 subjects, Sicily and Sardinia, and we're ready to reconquer their cores from Aragon. And all of our estates are super happy, and we have more than 30% crownland. Everything full stated, buildings built literally in every single province that they can be built in, as you can see, and we're ready to go on and crush the rest of Italy before going on to forming Italy and dominating the rest of the world. This is how you can do the same. Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be doing a guide for Milan for EU4 1.37 Winds of Change. So Milan is a nation located in northern Italy, and it does start off with probably the richest area in the entirety of the game, Lombardy right here, and it is one of the more powerful nations in Italy, and soon will become one of the more powerful nations in the world. As Milan, we do start off as a regular monarchy of feudal nobility right here, but a couple of years after the game starts, we will be able to trigger the Golden Ambrosian Republic disaster, which has the ability to give us one of the most unique government reforms in the game, the Golden Ambrosian Republic itself. Or we can even become another super powerful tier 1 government reform, the military dictatorship. Milan also has amazing national ideas related to the army and related to playing tall, starting off with plus 10% infantry combat ability and plus 1 diplomatic relations, finishing off with a plus 20% national manpower modifier, and in the meantime we have a 10% idea discount, which is absolutely insane, plus 1 yearly prestige, a 10% dev discount as well, so you can already see 2 playing tall ideas right here, minus 15% merc maintenance, minus 5% tech discount, another playing tall idea right here, plus 10% global trade power, and minus 10% stab cost. So excellent ideas all around for playing tall. And then Milan also has a really good mission tree right here, which focuses on us developing our nation internally, conquest all over Italy and outside of it as well, and the ability to provide level 4 forts several decades before you can actually build them, all for free. By playing as Milan, you will go on to initially dominate in northern Italy and conquer all of these extremely highly developed provinces while developing them even more ourselves. We'll get a unique tier 1 government reform, the Golden Ambrosian Republic. We'll continue to expand in the rest of Italy before either choosing to play tall, maybe only in the region of Italy, maybe only in Genoa and Venice, or going on to form Italy, expanding everywhere, and even forming the Roman Empire. So sit back, relax, and learn what you need to do as Milan. Alright, here we are as Milan. Now, as we all know, in just a couple of years right here, the Golden Ambrosian Republic disaster will fire pretty much as soon as Duke Filippo Maria I Visconti right here dies, which for some of you may be immediately. But in a typical game, you are able to pop off 1, maybe 2 wars before that whole disaster fires, so we're not worrying about this at all right now. And keep in mind, even though this is a disaster, it's actually not bad at all, and it's something we do want to happen. More on that later. First, we're gonna go into our estates and summon the Diet. You can choose whichever agenda is best for you. Then we're gonna give the clergy religious state and clerical advisory council, along with religious diplomats and clerical education. Then we're gonna give the nobility primacy of the nobility, increased levies, and aristocratic councilors. And finally, we're gonna give the burghers land of commerce, patronage of the arts, commercial advisory board, and indebted to the burghers. Then we're gonna seize land. Now, if you take a look at the mission tree right here, we'll see that all of these initial starting missions are not ones that we're really going to focus on. For this, we need the Renaissance to spawn. For this, we need some strong allies, which we will get. For this, we need mercs, and this mission realistically isn't that important at all, so don't worry about it. And then for this mission, to give us conquests over here in this region, we need to get our cores back from Venice. Obviously, we're not going to be doing that right at the start because Venice is way more powerful than us. And then for this mission, we also need to take care of Genoa, and usually Genoa is also a bit too strong to get involved with right at the start. Sure, you could beat them easily, but I think it's much better to focus on other weaker nations if we can. So don't worry about these conquest missions. We're not doing the conquests in order of what the missions want us to do. More on that later. Next, even though we're not making that much money right at the start, we will be hiring 3 advisors because we will start rolling in dough pretty soon, so it's not a problem if we lose money right at the start. So go into your advisors and hire whichever level 1 admin advisor you want. I'm gonna get this production efficiency guy, then get an improve relations or diplo rep level 1 dip advisor. I do have this diplo rep guy, so I am gonna hire him. And then get a morale, discipline, fort defense, or manpower level 1 mil advisor. I do have this discipline guy, so I am gonna hire him. Next, it's time for some alliances, and as you all know, we do start off in the HRE, so we do want to get good relations with Austria right at the start. And as an Italian nation, we are able to ally both France and Austria, even though these guys may break their alliance with us later when the Golden Ambrosian Republic disaster fires, but no worries, we'll probably be able to re-ally them after that. So the nations you want to get relations established with are France, Austria, and the Pope right here. Don't worry if you can't get one of them, it's really not that important to get all. But there we go. Right at the start, I'm gonna royal marry Austria right here. Let's check stuff with France right here. We can't do it with them just yet, so we'll do a little bit of improving relations with them. And let's check out the Pope. The Pope will also be able to ally after a little bit of improving relations. So there we go. I'm gonna start doing that with him. Once this guy's back, I'm gonna ally Austria after improving with them, and after that, I'm gonna improve with France. Additionally, right at the start, we're not gonna set any rivals just yet, because that may make some of these nations that we might rival ally each other, and that will make fighting a war versus these guys a little more difficult. Next, we're also going to rearrange our armies just a little bit by destroying only 1 cavalry regiment right here, and then you can also lower army maintenance and turn off your forts to save a little bit of money. Now, it's time to wait and establish these alliances, and then we'll start spying on whoever right here is the easiest to fight out of our small-ish neighbors, Lucca, Ferrara, and Mantua, and maybe even Genoa. Something that I recommend you do right at the start as well is go into the papacy right here, and then I recommend buying indulgence for your sins just so we can get some more papal influence generated. After you've secured an alliance with 2 out of the 3 guys that I mentioned, as you can see I'm improving with France right now, it is time to start spying on whichever nation around you is the easiest to fight. In my game right here, Venice is Venice and they've allied Aragon, as we can see. Mantua right here, which is the usual suspect in your initial war, is allied to Genoa, so that's definitely sort of an option. Ferrara right here, they've allied Aragon as well, and Lucca is allied to Savoy and to Ferrara, and that's so many big forts to take down. And Genoa is allied to Mantua, we already showcased that, and they also have Siena in a trade league. So my options right here in my game are to declare on Genoa, which actually is sort of an ideal start according to this mission right here, or to declare on Mantua because it's pretty much the same war. If I fight Genoa, Siena will be involved. If I fight Mantua, Siena won't be involved. That's the only difference. So I'm gonna go ahead and check on Genoa right here. Would maybe Austria or the Pope help me out? Austria actually wouldn't help you out right now, and the Pope would help me if I had favors with them. So there we go. As long as you can get someone to help you out, you are good to go ahead and fight someone. So that's why I'm gonna start spying on Genoa right here. Some of you may have been lucky enough to get an estate agenda to conquer Genoa, which sometimes does happen, in which case that's great. But now that the alliances have already been set up between these guys that you're gonna fight, you can go ahead and rival them. I recommend rivaling Genoa, Venice, and then whoever else you want. I'm gonna do Ferrara. And now it's time to wait to establish more alliances and build up the spy networks. And the best time to ally France would be while they're in this war versus England. As you saw earlier, I was quite far away from it, but I did send a scornful insult to Burgundy, the rival, and because they're in this war, they are more willing to ally me. So there we go. All those 3 alliances that we really need are secured in just a couple of years. Once you set all the alliances, you will be able to take the mission Friends in High Places, which gives us plus 20% improved relations and 10 prestige. Definitely take it. After you've set up the alliances, start currying favors with the nation that's most likely to help you out in your first war. In my game, that's the Pope. Of course, France may call you in this initial war because you've allied them. Definitely accept, just like that, you won't really do anything. In 1450, the Renaissance will spawn, and if you were lucky enough yourself, you might have just spawned it in your capital of Milan. If you didn't, no big deal. What you're gonna do after this point is activate the Encourage Development State Edict over in your capital state of Lombardy and develop Milan up to 30 dev, even if you did or didn't spawn the Renaissance. Obviously first expand infrastructure as well, but make sure to have gotten Tech 4 in every category before you dev up. Something that you actually want to watch out for, and this will probably happen way later in your campaign, is when the Ottomans declared on Albania. Now, as you can see, that happened right now. Usually it takes about 10 more years for this to happen, and this is actually the ideal time for you to strike on Venice as well. By that point, you will have conquered 1 or 2 more nations, the Golden Ambrosian Republic disaster will usually have already fired, and you'll be good to go ahead and declare on Venice while they're fighting the Ottomans here because they guarantee Albania. In my game, it happened really early. I'm definitely not ready to fight Venice, and they're also allied to Aragon right here, so I definitely can't do that. Austria is almost always willing to help versus Venice. Once you're ready to declare your first war versus whoever out of these minor guys you're fighting, it's time to raise army maintenance and activate your force. The reason I'm ready to fight Genoa right here actually is because Siena is no longer in a trade league with them, and I've just gotten Miltech 4 while these guys don't have it yet. So I'm good to go ahead and declare, even though I was initially waiting for favors with Austria. But after you've gotten army maintenance and forts up, what you're gonna do is give your ruler Mill Command right here, because we actually do want this guy to die relatively soon. And after that, I recommend hiring another merc company right here, the free company usually, but if you want to take care of this mission right here, you can go ahead and hire the free Swiss Guard as well. Like I said, this mission isn't really relevant at all to our gameplay, but you can do it in whichever way you want to. The free Swiss Guard is going to make you lose a little bit of money because they're more expensive. But either way, I am going to hire them just so I can take care of that mission. Otherwise, you'd use the free company. And now that morale is up, I'm ready to declare. A couple of years after the game starts, maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 6 like in my game, you can go ahead and declare your first war. I'm fighting Genoa. And there we go. And during this war with Genoa, I pieced out Mantua, by the way, and called in the Pope. My ruler died, which is something that could happen in your game as well. And as soon as your ruler dies, the Golden Ambrosian Republic disaster will start ticking. It ticks up real quick. It'll only take 4 months for it to fire. Now, ideally, it wouldn't happen during a war, but it's no big deal. I'll still show you how to navigate it, whether you're in a war like me or not. All I have to do right here is just wait to piece out Genoa. But in just a couple of months, you'll see what's happening. Make sure to put all your armies together during this. And there we go, there's the Ambrosian Republic disaster started. This first option right here, or the first event with one option only, is to enact the Ambrosian Republic Tier 1 government reform. As we know, super powerful, we become a republic instead of a monarchy. We got Pluto ideas instead of Aristo. Term duration is 4 years. We got plus 10% tax, which is super powerful in the early game, 5% morale of armies, plus 10 max absolutism, plus 50 gov cap. We gain some republican tradition, lose stability, and all of these monarchies around us dislike us. But there we go, that's the only option you can choose, and obviously you get to pick your starting ruler right here. Either you get an admin, a dip, or a mill guy. You can choose whichever one you need at that point of the game. This isn't too relevant. We're gonna lose whoever we pick right here pretty soon. So there we go, the Ambrosian Republic disaster has started, and as we can see, to end it, we need 0 stability to be at peace, and we need certain other events right here to have triggered, but we'll worry about that later. At this point, there's no need to stab up. We're gonna gain some stability later, so don't use your admin points on that just now. Either way, we're still waiting for the next events. When I get them, I'll show them to you, and I'll show you what to take. This is another event that we're waiting for right here, a proposition for Sforza, basically a super powerful historic general and whatnot. We have this first option right here where we get him as a general. He is really strong. We gain local autonomy in Novara, which is where he spawns from, and whoever we're fighting at that time hates us even more. The second option right here is we lose stab, we don't get him, and whoever we're fighting at that point gets him instead of us. We definitely don't want to go with this. We do actually want to get this guy, so this is the option you're going to choose in the event, a proposition for Sforza. We shall appoint him commander of our armies. And now that I've sieged down the province of Genoa itself, my war with Genoa is pretty much done. If you're fighting these guys in your first war, I do recommend taking only the province of Genoa. Sure, we can get away with taking Albenga too right here, and it's not like we're going to get coalitioned, but it is going to slow us down quite a lot from fighting some of these other guys right here. So that's why whoever you're fighting right here, out of the initial guys, Mantua, Ferrara, Lucca, Genoa, be careful. If you're fighting Mantua and Lucca, you're going to full annex them. If you're fighting Ferrara first, you're probably going to full annex them as well, since their provinces aren't as highly developed as Genoa's. But if you're fighting Genoa first, just like me, only take the province of Genoa. And you can humiliate them as well if they're still your rival. No need for money and war reps right here. We don't want that truce to be that long. And there we go. That's your first war done. You either took Genoa or Lucca or Mantua or both of these provinces right here. Those are your most likely first 4 wars. If you didn't fight Genoa just like me, you'll see how I fight these guys later on. But once you do take the province of Genoa, most likely that won't be your first war. Like I already said, I usually fight one of these guys first. Either way, whenever you do, you'll be able to take the mission Subdue Genoa. It gives us some trade power in that trade node, along with permaclaims in Emilia-Romagna and Liguria. There we go. These are the claims that we got. Now, a little bit of time after we get the disaster, you will gain this event right here, the Milanese Succession, where France and Austria gain an event to get a restoration of Union CB on us. Don't worry about this. Even if these guys break the alliance with you, usually they're not going to be declaring. If you're afraid of them declaring, however, you can always look for certain other strong allies at this point to deter these guys from declaring. Maybe like Hungary, Poland, Bohemia, Portugal, Castile, Aragon, England, Burgundy, whoever you can find. I don't think they're gonna declare, so I'm not even gonna bother. Now, since at this point we've already started our first wars and aggressive expansion will be really high no matter who we fight in Italy because we're still in the HRE as well, what you want to do is actually tell these 2 merchants, the one guy that's in Ragusa and the one guy that's in Valencia, to go ahead and collect in Genoa and in Venice, just like that. And then once these guys are there, you're gonna tell them to establish communities. This is gonna help with lowering aggressive expansion. Once it's time to take your tier 2 government reform, don't take it because we're just gonna be wasting a little bit of points on this. We're only gonna do these things after we finish up the disaster, so just save your points. In my game, I've just developed Milan up to 30 dev. That helped speed up the spawning of the Renaissance a bit, and it helped take off our age objective for a high development city. Like I said, only do this after you've gotten Tech 4 in every category, even if you have or haven't spawned the Renaissance yourself. And this is another super important event that we're waiting for, Sforza clashes with the Republic. You see, because we got this guy as a general, he's sort of seen himself as too powerful and wants to install himself as dictator. And these are the options right here. We can impose military rule under Sforza, which makes us lose more stab, and we enact the military dictatorship tier 1 government reform. Another super powerful tier 1 government reform, but it isn't unique to Milan. We gain plus 10% morale of armies, minus 0.075 monthly war exhaustion, and more max absolutism. And Sforza becomes a 5-5-5 ruler. This is the option you want to go with right here if you want to remain a military dictatorship, or even if you don't want to remain a military dictatorship, which is what we're doing in this game. The other option is resist Sforza's tyranny, we'll fight for liberty. This way we lose stab, Sforza dies, and pretenders rise up. Now with this second option right here, we do remain the Ambrosian Republic, but it's way more annoying to get back up with stability and stuff like that and to end the disaster. So that's why we always want to choose this first option right here and actually swap to a military dictatorship tier 1 government reform and lose the Ambrosian Republic. But don't worry, this is exactly what we're going to do because pretty soon we'll have our final event where we can choose to remain a military dictatorship just like we picked right here, go back to a Golden Ambrosian Republic just like we are right now, or even go back to a monarchy, which is the most boring option, obvious. So there we go. Impose military rule under Sforza. Now during peacetime right here, after you fought someone, you're gonna wanna also spy on other nations that you haven't gotten claims on. As we can see, this is what I got claims on, but maybe someone else is easier to fight in my game. So that's why I'll spy on Mantua and Lucca. Like I said at the start, we're not really following along with our conquest branches of the mission tree right here. While you're waiting for all of the Ambrosian Republic events to tick, I don't recommend declaring wars. I think it's best to wait it out. And this is the final event that we've been waiting for in this disaster chain, Sforza seizes the throne. Basically, we have 3 options right here. All hail Duke Sforza, where the government will change to a monarchy and the disaster ends. The second option right here is actually we stay with the military dictatorship, but Sforza is no longer our ruler. And the third option right here is to go back to the Ambrosian Republic. All of these options right here will make us end the disaster. So this is basically where you finally get to choose what to do with your game. The second option is to stay a military dictatorship. First, go back to a monarchy. I don't recommend this one at all. It's a boring way to play Milan since it has 2, unique or semi-unique abilities right here. And the third is the Ambrosian Republic, which is unique to Milan. Now, this is really strong as well, but obviously for the purposes of this guide, and because like I said, it is unique to Milan, I recommend choosing never let us restore the Republic as the founders intended. And boom, just like that, we go back to being an Ambrosian Republic. This new guy becomes in charge, and some pretender rebels with Sforza in charge rise up. Now all you gotta do is beat these guys up, and after after beating those pretenders up and stabbing up just one time, we have fulfilled these requirements right there, and there we go, disaster is over. We gain more stability, prestige, and just like that, it's all over, and we have the Ambrosian Republic Tier 1 government reform. Now is when I recommend you choose your Tier 2 government reform as well. And over here, you do have a couple of options for your Tier 2 government reform. For this first one that I recommend right here, obviously political dynasties, you know already, a random candidate gets a +1 bonus to their stats, and we can re-elect from a ruling family. Then this one gives us plus 0.2 yearly Republican tradition, and this one right here, the last one that I recommend, is a more mill-related one where we gain even more national manpower. So with this right here, and with the national idea, we gain plus 30%. If you want to lean into the whole army thing that much, I definitely recommend this. Aside from that, if you don't want to focus on that much, go for one of these two. In my game, I'm gonna go for republicanism. And now that that whole thing is done, you can finally continue or even start your conquests depending on when it happened for you. I just embraced the Renaissance in my game. Whenever you do, you will be able to take the mission Renaissance City, which gives us a 10% construction and debt discount for 20 years. Pretty strong. The next mission in that branch is Develop Lombardy, where we need to have the entire state of Lombardy right here at 150 development, which is pretty much double of what we have right now. Don't focus on this mission too much, like don't start deving just to complete it. We will gain a points cap sooner or later, we will be deving quite a lot, so this will all come naturally. Now, if you're around this time frame that I am, basically the late 1450s, if you've already fought 1 or 2 nations and have already triggered the Ambrosian Republic disaster, what I recommend that you could possibly do is wait for the Italian guys to leave the HRE, because it is going to happen in about 2 or 3 years right here, and we will gain less aggressive expansion with these guys after they leave the HRE. So you could continue to fight someone right now while you're still in the HRE, but if it's after 1455, honestly, I recommend waiting it out and focusing on the economy a little bit. As we all know, since we're allied to Austria, we could remain in the HRE, and what I recommend that you do is actually do remain in the HRE if someone else in Italy is allied to Austria, which means they'll stay in as well. In my game, Siena is allied to Austria, which means they'll stay in the HRE as well, so to fight Siena later on, I'll also need to fight Austria, even if I stop this alliance from existing using favors. So, because of this alliance only, I'll stay in the HRE. If no one over here aside from you is allied to Austria, you can definitely leave. In my game, I just took out some regular loans to pay off the old burger loans, and now I'm gonna go ahead and get new burger loans, and obviously don't be afraid to take out loans at any point in the game. This is how we start snowballing. Whenever you get your first cash to build buildings, it is gonna be pretty cheap during this early portion in the game. Start off with marketplaces in a center of trade and estuary provinces like Milan and Genoa, or Mantua right here, Ferrara, whatever you've conquered, and after that, work on the churches. I'm gonna build them in Milan and Genoa right here, and I'm gonna put down a church in Pavia and Cremona. And there we go, in March 1460, the Shadow Kingdom event will fire, where the Italian guys decide to stay or leave in the HRE. I already told you what to do based on who Austria is allied to. And a year after the Shadow Kingdom event triggers, you'll gain this pop-up where you can leave or stay. Let's take a look at the situation in my game once again. So Austria, yep, they're still allied to Siena, so that means our country is a natural part of the Empire, and I'll stay in. Keep in mind that if Austria loses the emperorship, you're either going to have to leave the HRE then or ally whoever the emperor is, because we're going to suffer penalties if we're in the HRE but not allied to the emperor. Later, after I conquer Siena, I'll be leaving. And as we can see now, all of these guys up here that we want to fight have left the HRE, so we will be getting less aggressive expansion with them. Either way, once you hit Admin Tech 5, it will be time for your first idea group, and for your first idea group as Milan, I recommend taking something that's going to buff up both your army and navy, since we're playing in Italy, in the center of the Mediterranean right here. We're going to have to fight strong militarily focused nations like France maybe later on down the line, and we are going to need strong boats as well, because we will be utilizing quite a lot. We want an idea right here that's going to give us, but also we want an idea group right here that's going to give us very nice policies with other idea groups that we're going to take. So that's why I recommend quality ideas. It'll do everything that I just mentioned that we need. So quality ideas for your first idea group. Now that that's all done and all of these guys have left the HRE, it's time for me to move on with my wars. Let me assess the situation right here. Venice, still too strong. Mantua, definitely an option. Ferrara, allied to Aragon. I really don't have luck with alliances. Lucca, we definitely could fight them as well. Allies would help us out, but why not go with the easiest option, which right now is Mantua. We definitely want this province. It's a center of trade, very valuable. So there we go. They're the easiest nation for me to fight, even though it's pretty easy to fight some other guys too. I'll call in the Pope here just to speed things up a little bit. Now that I white piece Genoa, it is time for me to piece out Mantua and full annex them. Or maybe not. As you can see in my game right here, Venice has actually declared on Mantua as well, which means that if I vassalize them, I'll be able to fight a defensive war versus Venice right here, and I'll be able to call in all of my allies, and their allies won't come in, which is going to make this war super easier. So that's why I'm going to take advantage of precisely that situation. If this was a normal game, basically if Venice didn't declare on them, I would full annex these guys. You really don't vassalize anyone over here in Italy that you're going to fight, at least vassalize militarily. You could always diplo-vassalize someone, aside from maybe Ferrara right here, which depending on when you fight them, sometimes you might want to vassalize them. Either way, instead of full annexing Mantua, like I recommend you do in your game most likely, I'm gonna make them my vassal and take all of their money, and just like that, we're in a defensive war versus Venice. Now, I can call all my allies in, and in this war versus Venice, I can maybe take back my cores and make them break the alliance with Aragon right here, so it's way easier to fight them later on. Just a little opportunity right here that you have to take advantage of in your games as well. Maybe not specifically this, but you'll always find something similar. So let's go ahead and fight Venice. For your first stage ability, I recommend taking Justified Wars. And there we go. Now that this defensive war with Venice is done, what I'm gonna do in my game is actually not take back my cores right here. We'll declare a separate reconquest for them later on because it will be way less aggressive expansion. And instead, what I'm gonna do right now is make them end their alliance with Aragon, so it's easier to fight them later. Make them end their alliance with Naples, once again, so it's easier to fight them later. And then what I'm gonna do is give Verona and Padua actually over to my subject Mantua right here. Since I have a lot of diplo points anyway, let's save some admin points for tacking up, even though we're pretty good with that, and we'll just diplo annex these guys later. So there we go. That's my war with Venice done. No money, no war reps. We want this truce to be short so we can fight them again for more things here. And there we go. Just like that, that war is done. Like I said earlier, this isn't usually the way you fight Venice. Ideally, you would declare on them when they're fighting the Ottomans as well, but take advantage of a situation like this if it presents itself in your game. Either way, for your tier 3 government reform, I actually recommend consolidation of power. This does increase the length of elections by 1 year, so it's 5 years instead of 4, but something super important right here happens. Estates get their influence lowered by 10% every time an election happens, which we do want. Whenever you're close to overflowing with points, just do some developing. And something really good that can happen in your game as well is someone next to you getting excommunicated, just like Venice got excommunicated by the Pope right now. That means every province that you border, and in my game that's already one of my cores right here, so it doesn't really matter if we do a reconquest, will gain way less aggressive expansion by fighting them and taking those provinces. For example, if Savoy got excommunicated right here, we could take these two provinces, ones that we border, for way less aggressive expansion than they would normally give us. So if someone gets excommunicated and you border them, definitely take advantage of that as soon as you can. Obviously, don't forget to lower autonomy from time to time, and make sure to seize land whenever your estates are above 50 loyalty. Now, because I made Venice break their alliances with Aragon and Naples, this is one of the most cursed alliances that's happened in my game, or maybe in one of my games ever. Venice has allied their arch-rival, the Mamluks. I guess I should have kept their alliance with Aragon and Naples, because this is even more annoying. Whenever you get a coastline, definitely start getting some galleys up. Now, because right now there's actually a pretty big war going on between Burgundy and Savoy that all of these guys are involved, it's actually a perfect opportunity for me to strike on some of these guys right here. So obviously I could fight Savoy because I could wait, Aragon wouldn't help them, I could try and fight Lucca here because none of their allies would help them, I could fight Ferrara right here because Aragon and Savoy won't help them, so this is a perfect opportunity to fight a bunch of guys around me. The nation I'm gonna declare on is Ferrara right here because they're the smallest nation that's the hardest to fight in my game due to their alliance with Aragon. So I gotta take advantage of that. There's my declaration on Ferrara, where Savoy and Aragon won't even help them. Perfect. At this point, we're pretty much continuing our conquest right here. After your initial 3-ish wars, I would say, you're fighting whoever you can, and whoever is the easiest to fight over in this portion of Italy. And keep in mind, like I said earlier, you don't have to follow along with your mission tree, the way it tells you to expand. Whenever you gain above 75 Republican tradition, you'll be able to take the mission Republican Yearnings, which gives us a stab discount and reform progress growth for 20 years. Definitely take it. And now that my war with Ferrara is done, I'll be full annexing them. Like I said, depending on when you fight these guys, sometimes based on aggressive expansion, it may be beneficial for you to vassalize these guys. And these are the only guys I sometimes recommend vassalizing, force vassalizing, over in northern Italy. That's that war done. There's 2 more very important provinces. During this time, we're using all of our money on construction. Now that 10 years have passed since I forced vassalized Mantua, I'm gonna annex them. Before that though, I'm gonna activate this right here, for even cheaper diplo annex cost, and whenever you annex a subject, definitely never forget to give the nobility integration policy, so we don't lose any diplo rep when we do annex them. And there we go. And keep in mind, based on my aggressive expansion right here, you guys can tell that you obviously can be a lot more aggressive than I am. I'm just trying to go at the pace that a normal inexperienced player or a new-ish player would go through, but some of you guys out there, and me, if this wasn't a guide, you would be able to take a lot more by now, probably about 4 or 5 more provinces by this point, all without getting coalitioned or anything like that. So if you definitely feel comfortable enough to conquer faster and be more aggressive, definitely go for it. For tier 4 government reform, since we're going to be staying Catholic the entire campaign, I recommend lands for the church. This will increase our opinion with the Pope and give us lots of bonuses to use those papal points. Now that I've chilled a bit, I'm ready to move on with my wars by finishing off Genoa right here. Normally this is how you would do it. You take Genoa in one war and then Albenga and Corsica in another. So here's my declaration, except it's not. As we can see, Genoa have allied France in my game, but that's precisely why I've been currying favors with France right here, and we need 50 of them to make France break their alliance with Genoa. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do now. And now that I've made France break their alliance, now I'll be declaring on Genoa to finish off the rest of their 2 Italian provinces. I'm gonna call in the Pope just to get this done a little faster. And now that we've defeated Genoa, we are gonna full annex them. Obviously, if they have holdings over here or over here, you don't really need to expand there unless you're going for a Roman Empire, in which case, if you're already taking stuff over here, you don't need a guide. Either way, what I'm trying to say is, in your second war with Genoa, take these 2 provinces and all of their money. And there we go, that's that war done. If you're in the HRE, don't forget to keep adding provinces to the HRE, since a lot of the provinces gain bonuses from these reforms right here. Once you hit admin tech 7, it will be time for your second idea group, and keep in mind, with these idea groups that we're taking, they're good for an Italy playthrough later on as well if you do decide to form Italy. Either way, I do recommend forming Italy, but you may not necessarily want to take their ideas, depending on what your goals are. More on that later. But like I said, for your second idea group, we want to focus on something that's gonna lean into the whole money-making aspect even more, since we have such wealthy provinces, this is such a rich region, and we're gonna continue to expand and develop all of these provinces and build buildings. So that's why for your second idea group, I recommend trade ideas the most. We are gonna utilize them quite heavily. All of these bonuses are great. The policies that we're gonna get with trade are excellent as well. If you don't want to go with trade, I recommend economic. Either way, I'm taking trade for my second idea group. And there we go, I've just annexed Mantua. Now that I'm done coring the provinces I took from Genoa, I'm ready to move on with my next war immediately, because as we can see in my game, Venice has suffered a pretty heavy defeat to Hungary over here. Hungary has taken a bunch of provinces in the Dalmatia area, and they've made them pop out Aquileia. So this is a perfect time for me to declare on Venice, reconquer my 2 cores right here, maybe even take a little bit more over here. So there we go, there's my declaration, a reconquest for Bergamo. I am gonna call in Austria and the Pope, even though this is such an easy war. I'm trying to make these wars as fast as possible. And there we go. And now that my war with Venice is pretty much done, I'll be piecing out for these 3 provinces right here, my 2 cores and Treviso, because if I take Venice as well, it's quite a lot of aggressive expansion. It won't be a problem, but it'll be so long before we can fight anyone else. So that's why I'm gonna take the province of Venice itself later on. And there we go, that's my second war with Venice done. You are gonna need 3 or 4 wars with these guys to take everything that they own in northern Italy, since their provinces are so highly developed. But either way, after you take back your 2 cores right here, you will be able to take the mission Reclaim the Ducal Lands, which gives us prestige and Republican tradition. And once we've conquered other provinces that Venice owns, we'll be able to take the mission Capture Terra Firma, which gives us Diplorep and Perma claims on the Piedmont area and Venice itself. These are those claims. And by the way, this other war that I'm in, I'm just helping out France. I'm always taking out new burgher loans. This time, I'm gonna use them to upgrade some centers of trade that I own. Now, once you become a certain size, you will be able to diplo-vassalize a few one-province miners located all around you, and that's very nice because obviously it's gonna save us some aggressive expansion and it's gonna make expansion faster. So now I'm about this size, let's go ahead and check offer vassalization right here. And actually, here we have a bunch of nations that would accept Burgonds, which we're not really interested in this playthrough, but Trent, Montferrat, and Saluzzo are definitely nations we want to go for. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. As you know, to diplo-vassalize a nation, ally them, guarantee them, royal marry them, obviously not in this situation, improve relations, send the gift, offer mill access, all of those good stuff. And there's my diplo-vassalization over on Montferrat, a nation that popped out of Savoy. I'm working to vassalize Trent right here, and as you can tell, I missed out on Saluzzo because they declared on Savoy and full annexed them for these provinces. So no big deal. we can still get 2 guys. There's a diplo-vassalization on the Trent as well, a nation you don't necessarily have to go for since it's not in Italy or in the Genoa or Venice trade nodes, but it is really good for this mission right here, where all of the forts in these provinces, Como, Torino, Saluzzo, Nisa, Trent, and Friuli, will get upgraded to level 4 forts. So when you have a fort in these provinces here and you click this mission, they'll go from level 2 to level 4. So that's really why you could sort of want Trent, even though it's not necessary. Now I'm going to work on getting Aquileia because it is possible with them as well. So there we go. That's 13 dev plus 8 dev plus 12 dev right here for free. Once you get 2 vassals, by the way, you can definitely give the nobility strong duchies. For your naval doctrine, I of course recommend galley combat while we still have someone to fight over here. And there we go, there's a diplo-vassalization on Aquileia as well. It was really easy to get them and Montferrat because they didn't exist up until recently, so they didn't really have aggressive expansion with me. It was a little harder getting Trent, but we still did it. As we can see right here, we can do it with Bologna too, which is absolutely awesome. Why get aggressive expansion for this 14 dev province when we can get it for free? It'll be a little harder because they do have aggressive expansion with me, but obviously it's still doable. And remember, whenever you're at your points cap, just sort by the cheapest province to dev and dev it up. Sure, some will say it is suboptimal to dev with admin points, but we're really not expanding fast enough to use them for coring. So along with improving your provinces, building up buildings and improving your economy, this is something else you can do during peacetime too. Diplo-vassalizing nations in Italy. And there we go, there's a diplo-vassalization on Bologna too. It was a little more difficult with them, so that's why I had to ask them to transfer trade power as well, and I had to send a scornful insult to Siena. But always doable. And there we go. 4 provinces, pretty much for free. Now we do have a slight complication in my game right here where France has gotten a PU over Naples. Either way, you'll probably have to fight someone for Naples down here, whether it's Castile/Aragon or France. In more recent patches, they definitely go for it. But that's a concern for later on. Right now, in the first 50 to 80 years of the campaign, we're focused on northern Italy. For your tier 5 government reform, you do have a couple of options. Obviously, you could go with the regular ones like organized military staff, military engineering, or even sustained discipline. However, due to all these abilities with defense right here, upgrading the forts, less fort maintenance and stuff like that, you could definitely also go with the defensive stance right here, which gives us a plus 20% garrison size, plus 15% fort defense, and plus 1 max hostile attrition. This is really good for if you want to create like some super defensive Italy that only owns the region of Italy. Your provinces will be impenetrable. It is a little more roleplay type thing rather than an optimal thing, but I'm definitely going to go for it in my game. We're pretty close to taking this mission either way. Now that aggressive expansion has chilled a little bit, I'm going to continue with my wars by fighting Florence because they have grown by 2 provinces and they're annoying enough to take out as is due to their extremely highly developed provinces. So I'm going to need 2 or 3 wars to take these guys down. Either way, there's my first, a conquest for Ravenna. I'm probably going to take 1 more province, and I am going to call in these guys because they are allied to this really big Hungary right here. So, annoying war, but still no big deal. And there we go, this war is done. I called in France as well to make it even faster, and in this war versus Florence, I'll be taking these 3 provinces. As you can tell, these are really highly developed. Just for the 3 original Florence provinces, it's 61 aggressive expansion, so it's really high. So I'm taking Ravenna that I have a claim on, along with Lucca right here, and Arezzo. And then in my next war with Florence, I'll take the rest of these provinces, Florence, which is extremely highly developed, along with Pisa, which isn't bad itself either. But these are all really nice as well. And there we go, that's my war with Florence right here, done. After you end up owning everything in Emilia-Romagna right here, you'll be able to take the mission expand to the south. This time we get a permaclaim on Tuscany, in which you may have already expanded if you had the opportunity to do so, along with admin points. Once you hit admin tech 8 like I just did, you definitely need to start spamming courthouses everywhere. Once there's about 1 to 3 nations left in northern Italy that you need to conquer, there's no need to worry about aggressive expansion with those guys anymore, since those are the only guys that are really mad at what we're doing. Now, because my truce with Venice has expired and because they have an excommunicated ruler, it's time to take the province of Venice for 50% less aggressive expansion, which is absolutely huge. So there we go. There's my declaration on Venice. I'm gonna call in the Pope to peace out Siena faster. Obviously, periodically, you'll gain events for these historical sort of advisors in EU4. There we go, we got Da Vinci right here, who's a production efficiency guy. Skill 3, by the way, 50% cheaper, and a bunch of forts. Definitely make sure to hire these guys when they show up. Usually, most of them will be admin advisors, but still, they have some cool, unique events tied to them as well. And there we go, since the province of Venice itself is the only thing I want, I'm gonna take it. Venice is gonna stay alive in Qatar right here, and that's only 13 aggressive expansion for one of the best provinces in Italy. 27 development, by the way. And there we go. Those are my wars with Venice for now done. we've kicked them out of Italy. Now we only have Saluzzo, Siena, and Pisa left to go in northern Italy. As soon as 10 years have passed after you've diplo-vassalized any of these minor nations around here, and this is not a necessity, it's just an option if you had it, definitely make sure to annex them. Obviously, don't forget the nobility integration policy. Now that a little bit of time has passed, I'll hit Saluzzo right here. Unfortunate that in my game they're allied to the Pope, which will make me break their alliance with them, but I will be able to re-ally them easily. As you can notice at this point, when there's a few nations left, we're just cleaning them up as we go. We should have claims on everything we want to conquer by now. So there's my declaration on Saluzzo for the conquest of Torino. I am going to call in Austria here to make this faster. And once there's so little nations left here, you can tell these guys to stop establishing communities right here, and instead you could place them around in a different way, and of course tell them to maximize profit. And my war with Saluzzo is done. I white-pieced the Pope, I white-pieced Florence, or actually I didn't white-piece them, I made them break their alliance with Hungary, and now I'm gonna full annex Saluzzo. For earlier in the game, 45 aggressive expansion is quite a lot, but for now, it's really not a problem. And there we go. That's Saluzzo, full annexed. Once you take over everything in the Piedmont and in Liguria, you will be able to take the mission Kingdom of Lombardy, which gives us permaclaims on these areas down here and on Trent as well. Right now, I've also started annexing Aquileia and Trent. At this point, just by randomly developing these provinces in Lombardy whenever I have extra points, I have gotten Lombardy up to 150 development, 151 to be exact. Once you do the same, you'll be able to take the mission Develop Lombardy, where this event happens. The first option right here is we lose 100 Diplo points, we gain 2 base production in Como, and silk will now be produced in Como, which is this province right here. It's already pretty good with producing cloth, so maybe you wouldn't want to take it, but the other option right here is just we gain a skill 3 50% cheaper production efficiency guy, and I already have Da Vinci. So we definitely want silk. 4 value is obviously better than 3. Now, once you have all of these border provinces right here that are necessary for this mission, fortify the passes, as we can see, we need 3 forts in any of those 6 provinces in order to be able to take this mission, where those level 2 forts will get upgraded to level 4 forts. Now, even though you don't really ever generally build forts when playing EU4 unless it's like some super defensive game or when you're not doing that well, what I recommend for this mission is to actually build a fort in all of these provinces that this mission says right here. So we already have one in Saluzzo and Como in my game right here, but we can build some in Nizza, Torino, Trent, and Friuli, and then all of those will get upgraded to level 4 forts. So that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. I'm actually going to take out a regular loan to pay off this old burger loan, and then I'm going to go ahead and take new burger loans. And by the way, this war that I'm in, I'm just helping out France. It's nothing important. And now I'm going to go ahead and build forts in all of those provinces right here so they can get upgraded to level 4. So these 2 are done. There's one right there. There's one right there. I know it's super redundant to have 3 right next to each other right here. Ideally, you'd skip provinces. So maybe build one in Nizza, in Torino, then in Como, then in Brescia, then in Treviso, or Friuli, Trent, whatever. Just skip one. I'm just doing this for the purposes of showing this off, that it will actually happen. So now we're super fortified like this. Literally every land connection to Italy will have a fort in it. That's all of these provinces that the mission specifies. There's no other land connections to any provinces. And once we're done, we'll take that mission and they'll get upgraded to level 4 forts. Extremely powerful. And keep in mind, level 4 forts are unlocked all the way at Miltech 14. Right now, we're only at 8. Right now, since my truce with Siena has expired, and since I'm already fighting Provence in this war that I'm helping out France in, it's a perfect time to declare on Siena because they're the only nation that we're going to be fighting. And there we go, we finally get to take down the other nation in Italy that's stayed in the HRE, the whole reason we stayed in the HRE as well. So there's my declaration on Siena. And there we go, now that my war with Siena is done, I'll be full annexing them. I did end up having to fight Provence once again because they got pieced out and joined this war. But there we go, that's Siena done. And now that all of my forts right here in the provinces that this mission specifies have been built, I am able to take the mission Fortify the Passes, and boom, just like that, all of these forts that we just built in those 6 provinces become level 4 forts. And for right now, it's literally impossible for anyone to enter Italy via land. Obviously, there are some forts right here that are sort of redundant that I will be deleting since we're not playing super defensively. And even though these forts in Brescia right here and in Treviso, for example, are very nice because they are hill forts, we really don't need them at all. So there we go. I'll just go ahead and delete this one right here and delete that one right there. And now we're still pretty good. We're still pretty defensive. I could even go ahead and delete this one in Mantua, for example, since Ferrara and Genoa are really nice coastal forts, so I'll go ahead and do that too. Sure, these forts right here, if you build them just like I did in my game right here, will be really expensive, but hey, it's worth it. For your tier 6 government reform, I feel like you have a couple of options right here. Either you could go with supremacy of the Diet right here, calling the Diet no longer increases influence of the estates and it increases republican tradition. Sure, it does give us minus 25 max absolutism, but all estates are more loyal as well. And then you can go with the 30 general as well, where advisors give us 0.02 yearly republican tradition per level, and we gain a minus 15% cost of advisors with ruler's culture. Only take this if you have more than 30% Kremlin though. Later, when you form Italy, sure, you could stay as a republic, but if you really want to blob out and if you take the Italian ideas as well, then after some time you're gonna swap to a monarchy right here. But for now, I'm gonna go with supremacy of the Diet. Now I'm also gonna annex Bologna. Now that France's little thing with England is over, and now that I've annexed Bologna, I'm ready to move on with my final war over in northern Italy by finishing off Florence. I do have a little bit of a problem in my game though, because Florence has allied Castile right here, and Castile in my game is pretty powerful. However, that's not really a problem because France and Austria and the Pope are willing to help out right here. And additionally, I can co-belligerent Castile since Castile doesn't have any other allies. Now obviously Aragon and Navarra show up now, but they would come in either way. They're Castile subjects, so I can do that and actually take some provinces from Aragon right here to release Sicily and Sardinia from, so we can reconquer them later on. So overall, even though it's more difficult to fight Florence, it actually turned out pretty well, because I do think if we declare on Aragon or Castile directly, Austria wouldn't join since they're pretty far. Either way, there's my final war in northern Italy. You should be doing it around this time as well, around the time colonialism or Protestantism spawn. And now that we've crushed these guys, I'm gonna go ahead and separate piece Castile for the cheapest province over in Sardinia. Let's see, these two are about the same, so I'm just gonna take Cagliari, for example, or actually no, I'm gonna take Sassari so we can connect it to my province, and then I'm gonna take the cheapest province down here in Sicily as well, which is Trapani, just like that, and I'm gonna take Wareps and all of these guys as money. And that's my war with them done. From these two provinces, we can release Sicily and Sardinia and reconquer their cores. And because we're done with Florence as well, there's a full annexation on them as well. It says a coalition will form, and it might out of these northern German guys, but we don't really care since we have strong allies and we're not planning to expand in northern Germany anyway. So that's my war with Florence done as well. And like I said, around the time colonialism or Protestantism spawns, you should have wrapped up everyone in northern Italy, and you should be taking the mission Conquer Tuscany as well, which gives us some more dev discounts and yearly prestige. Of course, now I'm gonna release Sicily, just like that, and Sardinia, just like that. These are their cores we can reconquer. And it'll be easy to take these guys down later, since we already did it once. Obviously, once you've taken care of everything in the HRE that you want to conquer, you can definitely go ahead and leave the HRE. Sure, you do gain some nice bonuses if the Emperor has passed reforms and stuff like that, which are valid directly for your provinces, but if you're in the HRE, you will never be able to upgrade from a duchy, and we definitely want to do that. We want to upgrade. So there we go, I'll leave the HRE. This will ruin my relations with Austria a little bit, as we just saw, but still, once you've taken care of everything, there's no need to humiliate yourself by staying in the HRE when you're so large. And just like that, we're a kingdom. Of course, because I left the HRE, Austria rivaled me and broke their alliance with me, but it's no big deal because we do need to fight them for certain missions over here. Once again, helping out France is some little thing, and I should let you know that I did get coalitioned. Normally you wouldn't. The only reason this happened is because I took some provinces from Castile. Otherwise, we would have been all good. So if it's worth risking a little coalition to get something like this, definitely go for it. Otherwise, if you go the pace that I went this campaign, you're not gonna get coalitioned at all. If you really want to get super defensive, you could always build ramparts in the provinces we got level 4 forts in. And around the time the Protestant Reformation and or colonialism spawns, your game should look a little something like this. Basically, we start off as Milan, and before we got the Golden Ambrosian Republic disaster, maybe some of you had an opportunity to do 1 or 2 wars versus the small nations around you, such as Mantua, Ferrara, Lucca, or Genoa, depending on who you could fight. Maybe for some of you it was easiest to fight Savoy or Venice right here, but that doesn't usually happen, and most of you will have wrapped up 1 war by the time that disaster fires. But after the disaster fires, which is a disaster we want to happen, I showed you how to navigate that, and you should have come out on the other end of the disaster with the Golden Ambrosian Republic Tier 1 government reform right here that we have in our game game as well. Some of you may have gone for a military dictatorship. The rest of the gameplay is pretty much similar after that, but I do think playing with that government reform right there requires a separate guide. But either way, after getting all of that unlocked, basically a war and a disaster, you should have continued your expansion in the small-ish nations around you. Like I said at the start of the video, even though the missions want us to begin by getting our cores back from Venice and fighting Genoa, that's not always possible. So pretty much fight whoever you can in northern Italy whenever you can. I already told you the allies you should have gotten. Basically, the Pope will help you out in wars versus any minor nations over here, and France and Austria should be willing to help you out versus more major nations like I use them in my game as well. And after that, it's pretty simple. Taking out whichever nation is the weakest that you border, initially taking one or maybe even two provinces depending on who you're fighting, but after that, it's pretty strong blobbing, reconquering your course from Venice over here, diplo-vassalizing a bunch of one province nations that are left around here in northern Italy. You could definitely go for some guys in southern Germany even. Some of those guys were willing to accept earlier, and after that it was just cleaning everyone up until you get to conquer all of these areas right here, which is pretty much the Piedmont, Lombardy, which we start off with, the Po Valley, Venice, Emilia-Romagna, Liguria, and Tuscany, and some of you may have expanded over in the Tyrrhenian Isles or maybe even in southern Italy down here if you had the opportunity, even though we didn't go into that in this guide because it's not usually something that happens and it's not usually something that you go for. If some of you guys were lucky, then you could have definitely expanded over there. But like I said, bro, on this point you should have all of northern Italy. Don't touch the Pope no matter what you do, because we do want to have good relations with the Pope for the entirety of the campaign. Even if you can, you know, form Italy to stop the negative modifiers from owning Rome, don't do that. We're only going to do that after we already take care of everything over in southern Italy, and then you could take over everything from the Pope and form Italy. Now, speaking of forming Italy, obviously it's something you're going to want to do mainly for the Rome stuff right here so we don't get the penalties, and for the brand new absolutely insane Italian mission tree, which is super powerful. It was pretty powerful before, but now it's even better, which focuses on massive conquest. Now, there's sort of two ways to play after this, you know, playing tall start as Milan. After you conquer everything, obviously it comes time to form Italy. Now, if you want to continue playing in the same fashion that we've already been playing in, basically with all of these playing tall focused national ideas, the tech discounts, the idea discounts, the dev discounts, stuff that we get from the Milan mission tree. And by the way, speaking of the Milan mission tree, make sure to finish it before you form Italy, because there are some really nice bonuses over here, and the missions are absolutely excellent even though the mission tree is so small. But getting back to the fact of playing tall, if you want to stay playing tall, basically if you're not going to expand much outside of the Italy region right here, not expand much outside of the Genoa and Venice trade nodes, maybe even go for only Valencia, Genoa, Venice, and Ragusa or something like that, and you definitely want to continue with the developing and stuff like that, definitely keep the Milanese missions if you're going to be playing tall. However, when you form Italy, if you want to blob out and that's enough playing tall for you, definitely go for the Italian national ideas, which are very well suited towards conquest. So that's what you're going to do when you form Italy. Obviously, you could stay as a republic and reform Republic Rome or something like that, but if you're going for a really massive blobbing campaign, then at any point when you're ready to start blobbing out, basically when absolutism spawns around the 1600s, I do actually recommend swapping to a monarchy, and that would be about enough of the Ambrosian Republic. But either way, by this point, you shouldn't have only been focused on expanding. As you guys noticed and as you guys saw, there is quite a lot of downtime when playing as Milan right here, due to the fact that we're conquering HRE provinces in the early portion of the game, due to the fact that so many of these provinces are extremely highly developed, so we're going to be taking it very slow. So there is going to be a lot of downtime, in which of course you used it to diplo-vassalize some guys, but you should have also used it to improve your nation. Now, because we're going to be hitting the points cap so much, we got awesome rulers. Well, this guy is a new guy, that's why he isn't awesome, but usually they're about 555, 666, whatever. You will have a ton of points, and you'll be using all of those points to develop. As we can see, these are my provinces right here, all of them super highly developed. As you can tell, the lowest dev province right here is Trentino at 8, and that's not even an Italian one. Technically, it's not in Italy, even though it's Italian culture. And then some right here that I've conquered just recently that aren't dev'd up that much. But as you can see, the core of the nation right here, extremely highly developed. These are the provinces in Lombardy. The lowest dev one is Como right here at 23 development. So all of them extremely developed. We can notice that just by looking at this map mode right here. But deving is not the only thing you're going to do to focus on improving your nation. You should have also been constructing a ton of buildings since the start. I have marketplaces in all of the center of trade and estuary provinces, and even more than that, that the nations that I conquered have built. As we can see, courthouses in literally every single province. GovCap is going to be a problem because they are so highly developed. Production buildings in all the high value trade good provinces, churches in almost every single province. There's one in Nisa as well. A couple of army buildings here and there in the provinces that it makes sense in, such as grain or livestock, or highly dev'd in mill points. Of course, all of those castles that we built right here that are now level 4 forts, and if you want to lean into the whole thing even more, like I said, I do recommend building ramparts. If you do end up building ramparts, you can always expand infrastructure to get another manufactory there, so you could have the ramparts and an actual money-making manufactory there. That would be awesome. So that's how you should have focused on developing. I have all of my centers of trade built up to level 2, and Genoa and Venice are at level 3 as well. You can have as many level 3 centers of trade as you have merchants, so I could put up 2 more level 3 centers of trade, but I'm saving that for later, and that's pretty much how your building development should have gone on. Now, obviously in Italy, there are quite a lot of great projects as well. If we take a look at that map mode right here, we do start off with the Dome de Milan right here, which isn't really that useful to us at tier 3 right here, so you don't really have to focus on developing this too much. But the Doge's Palace in Venice and the Venetian Arsenal are super strong, along with the Santa Maria del Fiore, St. Peter's Basilica, and the Royal Palace of Caserta. So really, out of all of the monuments in Italy, the one we start off with is the weakest. Globally, I'm speaking, of course. The other ones are much better. So when you have the money to upgrade something, definitely no need to focus on the Dome de Milan. Instead, do some other monuments that you've conquered from your enemies. After this point, we're going to continue to expand in the same directions we've already been expanding in. Obviously, if this is an Italy-only playthrough, I would focus on taking down Aragon right here, reconquering my subject scores before finding a way to somehow fight this massive France that has Naples as a junior partner, and then I would finally take down the Pope. If you're going for a more balanced campaign, you would continue to expand in the Venice and Genoa trade nodes right here, maybe taking down Provence earlier on, pushing into Valencia and Ragusa after that, but it's pretty much finishing off Italy. And if you're really stuck with Italy, like I am, for example, sorta in my game, it's just the Pope and Naples pretty much left, then I would look to expand into other areas. As we can see, Hungary right here and Serbia are prime real estate, and they could take something from Aragon over here too to release Barcelona and Valencia and reconquer their cores as well. And that's pretty much how your expansion is going to go. Follow along with the Milanese mission tree, finish it, form Italy, and then you're just going to follow along with the Italian mission tree. They guide you pretty well to everything you need to conquer as these nations. This is what we took for our first 2 idea groups. Quality, obviously, to buff up the army and the navy, where we're utilizing both quite a lot. Combat ability is really strong right now, and then trade to maximize our money-making potential. Right now, I'm making about 50 ducats a month. A lot of it, as we can see, 43% is coming in from trade, which is super strong. After that, for your third idea group, I recommend picking up another mill idea group. If you're planning to stay a republic for the entirety of the playthrough, then plutocratic is actually a really good recommendation right here. I think so, because of all the dev discount modifiers, the goods produced is super strong, the merchant we need, the reform progress growth, and the other military related things aren't bad either. But it's really a money-making mill idea group. If you're not staying a republic, then I recommend picking up something like offensive, or if you want to get defensive even more, picking up defensive ideas to let literally no one into your country. So if you're a republic, Pluto. If you're not staying a republic, offensive or defensive. Then for your fourth idea group, I recommend perhaps another money-making idea group, such as economic or infrastructure. As you all know, the dev discount has been moved to infrastructure now, but economic is still really good and still has really nice policies. So mill, money, mill, money. That's pretty much how it goes. The rest of these ideas are up to you, although I would generally follow the same pattern of mill, money, mill, money. This is what we took for our first 6 government reforms. Now, if you're staying as a republic, what I'm going to say right here is relevant to you. If you're planning on swapping to a monarchy, what I'm going to say is not really relevant. But for tier 7, for a republic, of course, I recommend administrative divisions or provincial governments. For tier 8, I recommend embracing the economic theory or empowering the burghers. For tier 9, I recommend broad and executive powers. For tier 10, I recommend any of these 3 right here. For tier 11, I recommend citizenry. For tier 12, I recommend appointment by committee. And for tier 13, I recommend strengthen executive powers. And like I said, around the time colonialism and or the Reformation spawn, your realm should look a little something like this. If you're not that confident in your ability, or if you're not sure if your game is gonna go like mine, this save file is available for all YouTube members in the Save Games Discord channel, and you can continue playing as Milan from this state forward. Let me know in the comments below what's the next nation that I should do a guide on. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to leave a like. It really helps out a lot, and if you like the content and want to see more videos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of them. And you can become a member today and join the Discord. The link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with another EU4 video.